Good Saturday morning, everyone. Coming to you live from DraftKings at Casino Queen. My name is David Sharp, here with my man Clemson John to my all the way to the right. Right in the middle is our friend Peter Jakes. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing? What's going on, man?
I'm
Bright and early.
ready for some games today and games tomorrow. Got a full slate for both. A lot of opportunity.
John, it's awful early for you, I know.
I've waited all year for this, my man. It's game day's live in Clemson right now. We're pumped up. They're probably got Dabo pumping everybody up right now. NC State's going to be going home sad tonight.
Well, we got plenty of time to get to that. We got a whole second hour. You get to look at that smile on his face.
We're ready to go.
All right, Pete, as a handicapper yourself, we brought you on. I want to know, my favorite thing is value in gambling, in any kind of gambling. So let's start with that. How do you find value in your handicapping?
So first, I like to look at situational betting. So, for example, the Raiders the past 3 weeks, they've come off one-score games, very tough losses. Where Denver this week, they're 2-1, but they've scored no more than 17 points. And this line right now at 2.5, the Raiders at home are playing a team that's not good on offense, and they're hungry for a big-time win, which is a situational play. So that's one aspect of value that I look for, whether it's college or NFL. Another one another level of value is rivalry game, such as like today with Arkansas. They're 17-point underdogs, but last year they only lost by 8 in Tuscaloosa on the road. And so it's a rivalry game, situational betting, and like I said, at home. So
there's Arkansas's got a dynamic quarterback too, KJ Jefferson. So he's going to be looking to make some plays against that Alabama defense. The kind of the way that Texas did early, but Texas really dominated defensively. They put a lot of pressure on Bryce Young, and they were able to kind of contain him in Alabama. But, KJ Jefferson can make some plays and keep that game close to 17.5-point line. It's been hovering around there all week, so that'll be an interesting game for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting game, and I would definitely take the 17.5, as I believe Arkansas is very hungry. They're more than capable of winning this game after being a one-score game last year on the road, and I believe it's a great play to take the points with Arkansas this Saturday.
Yeah, Will Anderson's going to be spying KJ Jefferson the whole game, so that'll be good to watch out for with Will Anderson. He was a Heisman. We had Adam on yesterday on the radio show on 590, and he was a Heisman sleeper as a defensive guy at linebacker. So you don't really see a lot of defensive guys get hyped for Heisman, but Will Anderson's up there, and he's going to be a top 5, top 10 at worst draft pick. I don't know how much Heisman play he's going to get just because it's so hard for defensive guys to get that Heisman award. I think the last guy that won it was Woodson in 97 for Michigan, I think. Yeah. So it's just really hard for defensive guys to win it. But, Will Anderson's going to be spying KJ Jefferson a lot that game for sure.
And another note on this Arkansas-Bama game, the offensive and defensive line for Bama this year, they're not as strong as in years past. If you watched that game last week with Texas, they got to Texas, or Texas got to them pretty good and stuff, and Texas didn't back down. So they showed a little vulnerability, did Alabama, on the defensive and offensive line front, and I think that could possibly hurt them against Arkansas, which means that number can cover a little bit easier.
Yeah, and Texas put a lot of pressure on them on the offensive line. Texas was able to make Bryce Young scramble for 3 quarters for that game. So that's really what kept Texas in that game is Texas' defense and Alabama's lack of being able to contain Texas' defense.
And despite last year Bryce Young throwing for 5 touchdowns, this year it is not going to be as easy for him to throw as many touchdowns and find his receivers with the offensive defensive line not being as strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what time is that Arkansas game at?
That is an afternoon 2:30 Central start.
3:30 Eastern start.
Yep.
All right.
So that'll be in Arkansas. So big line, so we'll kind of see where they're at and see how KJ Jefferson does with that Alabama defense.
Primetime CBS.
Yep.
All right, Pete. I want to let's get into your picks, man. I can't wait to hear. I know you got a lot. Let's start with your college, and then we'll get over to the NFL.
Yeah, so kind of the game I was just mentioning. My best play for college this Saturday is taking plus 17. Like I said, it's a situational bet and a rivalry game where, like I said, they came off a one-score game on the road in Tuscaloosa last year. So this year, they're more than capable of not only covering but really outright winning. But I think the better play is taking the 17 points, and that is my best play for this Saturday at 2:30, like we mentioned.
I always like best plays, right? Whatever we'll find out your opinion later, but what I just like hear best plays because they go into my big long ticket of parlays. All right, next up, what do you got?
For college?
Yeah, we're going college.
College, I have under 52 in the Purdue game. Both offenses do not strike me as teams that can light up the scoreboard. Big Ten traditionally, they run down the clock, not as many plays. Offenses aren't explosive, and therefore you might have a 10-7 game at half and then a 24-17 game at the end of the game. Big Ten unders are more likely a safe play, and this one being over 50, I believe, is, to me, the best play on a total front in the Big Ten, which is why I'm taking the under in the Purdue game.
All right. How many
one thing I got to watch out for on Minnesota, though, is they got one of the best running backs in the country, Muhammad Ibrahim. That guy, I've been on him. I was out watching the Minnesota-Ohio State game last year, the first game of the year. This kid just comes pounding that Ohio State defense, and he tears his knee up, and he's out for the year. So I knew when this kid comes back healthy this year, he's going to be, just lighting the world up on the running back side. And he is. He's running. He's got 500-something yards already. Just a dynamic playmaker. Minnesota's, just going at it at ease. They're 4-0 with scores of 38-0, 62-10, 49-7, and 34-7 against Michigan State. So if that Minnesota defense can, keep Purdue less than 17 points, I think it's got a chance to hit that under. But watch out for Muhammad Ibrahim. That kid can just flat out fly. He's going to be on those NFL fantasy teams with our man Pete Sipple. He'll be able to, have some fantasy value on him for sure. But yeah, watch out for Muhammad Ibrahim. Other than that, under 53 could be a play to look at if they can keep Purdue under 17 points, because Purdue has no shot of keeping Minnesota under 28. Muhammad Ibrahim's going to run wild on Purdue. It's a 9-point spread, Minnesota -9, and the over-under sitting at 53. So
you had it at 52.5, right?
Yeah, it moved up.
It's hovering anywhere 52 to 53. So.
Okay, we're going to go to the NFL because right now Pete is the only one going to be giving out NFL picks on our show today. So let's hit the NFL. I know you got a lot of them, so let's go over it.
First one right now, and I'll say my best play for the last one is Bills versus Ravens. That total sitting at 51. And right now, the Bills, the least amount of points they've scored this season so far is 21, while the Ravens so far is 24. And these teams both can light up the scoreboard, which is why I believe this game today, 51, is actually a number that has great value, where I believe it should be about 54.5. So if you can find 51 at the 1.5 at the most, I would hop on that as soon as possible, because that is a total. That's my favorite total this Sunday for the NFL.
So over 51 in the Bills game.
Yeah, that's my best play on the totals end.
Okay.
For the NFL.
All right. Next up.
Next one up is Tennessee money line, which is 3.5 right now. Last week, and they're playing Indy. Last week, it took Indianapolis to win that game outright against KC because of a taunting call. And then to follow it up, it was a 10-play drive for the game-winning drive, and which left Mahomes little to no time. And I know you say 13 seconds, he can come back, but at the same time, that is what ultimately got Indy there for an outright win, where they wouldn't have got there at all without all of that help. So I would definitely not even lay in the points. I would just take them outright. Tennessee to win straight up.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Tennessee's backup quarterback at all?
I have not.
Malik Willis.
Oh, yeah, that's who it is. Yeah.
Malik Willis out of Liberty University, of all places, little old Liberty University.
And he took it higher.
Yeah,
for sure.
He was an Auburn transfer. So he goes, falls out of the graces at Auburn there, transfers to Liberty. Plays under Hugh Freeze at Liberty. Hugh Freeze was the guy at Ole Miss. He got in trouble at Ole Miss and then found a lower job at Liberty, back into football. Malik Willis from Auburn, and Malik Willis lit the world on fire at Liberty, and he's going to be the next quarterback at Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill's just buying time right now because Malik Willis came into that Buffalo game and made some plays, David. Made some plays.
You know what I love? Everybody can see that smile on your face, like you've been waiting. I don't know how long for it.
Yeah, I was. July and August. We waited 2 months for this.
It's a letdown on Sunday for this guy. It's like, you're all pumped up for today.
Yeah, you have to be pumped up for today.
I love it.
This is what us Clemson fans have waited for. Ever since last year, NC State's been running their mouth ever since they got a double overtime win against us. They get us in a down year last year.
I'll get them talking.
Yeah, Pete, don't worry. We'll get all your picks. He's all fired up. He's going to have a whole hour. He's going to have a whole hour to talk about that game.
But Malik Willis is going to be the next quarterback of the Tennessee Titans if that's your pick, since that Tennessee's your money line pick.
Yeah, I actually like it. I think Kansas City should have won that game, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know how
many survivor pools got busted because of that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I don't know if you're a survivor pool player.
I am not this fall, and that's a missed opportunity on my end. I'd listen to a lot of podcasts, especially on VSiN, and definitely wish I was in it. Maybe I wouldn't be in it, but I feel like I would be. They're just a lot of fun, it looks like. So.
I'm out, and I'm out. And
many people are out. We're going week 3 in. I've seen so many bad beats, and teams that shouldn't have won already knocked, like yourself and many, many others out.
The good news is there's always another one starting.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
There's always opportunity.
Week 14 Survivor Pool.
We are at the peak of gambling and pools in the sports world.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is the peak of it if you look at the timeline.
All right, I want more, Pete.
Okay, and I have a best play here for NFL, but I also just, if you don't mind, want to relay one back to college.
Yeah.
Just because they're coming off a devastating loss last week, and that's Mizzou, right? They had 2 chances to win. They fumbled the ball at the end of overtime. It goes into the end zone. Auburn jumps on it, wins the game, and then not to mention, Mizzou missed a 20-yard field goal at the end of regulation to win, right? So they're back in Columbia today, and while they are going against the number 1 team in the country in Georgia, I understand that this play may not be for everyone, but the total for Mizzou is 12.5, right? And while they are absolutely going to get destroyed, you can look at this in the fourth quarter when every backup is in there and no one has anything to play for. And then Mizzou can get a backdoor cover, especially if they had 1 score in the game already, maybe from a short field or something. So I wouldn't expect much from Mizzou, but a 12.5 point team cover is something I can definitely play this Saturday.
Well, not only that sounds interesting to me, but it gives me something to sweat.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no doubt.
So I don't have to worry about the total score. I can only just worry about Mizzou scoring, which is going to be a little rough, but 12.5 is not.
Yeah, give me a minute. I'm going to go put that in because Kent State got 22 last week.
And
Kent State got 22.
And Georgia's team total is 41, right? And Mizzou and Georgia's laying 28. So those 2 plays can certainly get there. But 12 after a devastating loss, you're coming back home, you're motivated, and a backdoor cover while probably getting destroyed is definitely on the table. And like you said, I would hate to try to sweat out at 12.5 when you're at home coming off a devastating loss despite being the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, I've never liked Georgia's quarterback anyway. Stetson Bennett I think they win in spite of him, not because of him. So
You've said
he's
that a
got
lot.
those numerals by his name. It's like 6 numerals. Stetson Bennett the 17th or something, I just, I've never liked their offense that much anyway. So you know, yeah.
You're not partial at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never liked Georgia's offense really, So I mean, their defense is what it is, They got some big guys up front, but let's make no mistake, they don't win because of Stetson Bennett the
Not
17th.
Not at all.
They win in spite of it.
All right, NFL. Let's get back on track. I need my NFL picks because I got to have both days.
Okay, this is my best play. Situational talent on both ends here. Two aspects of value that you find in this game. So Vegas, they're back home this Sunday, and they're playing the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, while being 2-1, they haven't scored more than 17 points this season so far. It's gone 17, 16, and 11, right? The Raiders, every loss that they've had have been one-score games, and honestly, all games that they could have won. So they're coming back home. They're hungry. They're a better offense. They have more fight in them this Sunday to want to win this game. Denver looks absolutely terrible, and this game just has situational value and everything on it. And I would lay the 2.5 points because if you take them on the money line at 2.5, it's a minus 140, not the most juice, but you might as well get paid outright and only lay $1.10 or so for that play as opposed to losing 30 cents when this should be a game that they cover by 3, if not way more.
So I'm going to tell you, I don't give out my picks very often, right? Because I don't consider myself a professional handicapper. But this is one of the games that I was looking at that I really like. And I know I talk a lot about the Raiders. I know they're 0-3, and I took them 40-1 to win it all. And I'm not set in the Raiders and not as a Raider fan, but I absolutely agree with everything you just said. And Denver looks terrible, and they haven't got it. They're going to have to show me that they get it together. And Las Vegas, I mean, they could have won any of those games, right?
Yeah, they had a heartbreaking loss against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. My man, it was a Clemson guy on a Clemson guy on this play. Hunter Renfrow catches the ball in overtime, I believe. I think it was overtime. And Isaiah Simmons, the old all-star linebacker we had, came up and popped him. And then the ball comes out. Cardinals pick it up and run it back for the game winner.
Absolutely devastating.
Raiders could have easily won that game. And Hunter Renfrow doesn't fumble the ball at all. Yeah. I mean, not much at all.
Talk about
Isaiah Simmons coming up and popping you. Good luck keeping that ball.
Yeah.
He's fired up. Dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my best play, undeniably, this Sunday for the NFL. There's just too much in it for that not to add up to a win. And like I said, Denver, they just look terrible. Russ is not. Let's cook Russ anymore. It's just a disaster over there. And Vegas is too hungry. They're too good. Back at home, I think it's a lock. So
yeah,
that's where I would go.
I like, I absolutely love it myself. Okay, I know you got one more in there for us.
The last one I have, it was
Jets Steelers, I believe.
Jets Steelers. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so right now Zach Wilson is coming back. The Jets are laying 3.5. It's a minus 190 on the money line, but I would lay the 3.5 because honestly, Joe Flacco has been playing a lot better than a Zach Wilson. So Zach Wilson coming back to face them is honestly a downgrade. So I would lay the 3.5 instead of taking the 3.5 and paying the 190 juice, knock it back down to minus 110 because, like I said, Zach Wilson, I don't think he brings an upgrade to this team whatsoever. And I think the Steelers, while they're not the most consistent offense here and there, I think they'll get there by on a money line, 4 or more to cover that 3.5. No question. Zach Wilson, he doesn't get the job done.
All right. Any opinion?
I've never been big on Zach Wilson myself. BYU kid, I didn't like the draft pick, So
yeah,
I can see that as logical.
I don't think Flacco's terrible. I mean, I don't think he's absolutely awful, right?
Right.
I don't think he's not the best and he's not awful, but he's definitely better than a Flacco or than a Zach Wilson. And you put him that back in there after being out and not seeing the offense for a while. I just don't see the Jets covering that, or the Jets. I don't see the Jets missing that right there. And I believe that they cover the four with ease, especially with Zach Wilson coming back.
All right, John. I want you to discuss with Pete a little bit about the Clemson game, why we got him here.
Yeah, we've been waiting since last October for this.
Yeah, last year was a rebuild year for sure, and
Well, yeah. Defense
Compared-
got banged up too. We didn't have to rebuild the defense, but we lost Brian Brzee, lost Tyler Davis, two big guys in the
a
middle.
lot of good talent.
Yeah, we lose a lot on the defense last year from injuries. I mean, gosh, I thought we were going to have to call in another medical staff. We were getting so many injuries last year. But, I don't, this isn't going to be an interesting game from a quarterback standpoint because DJ had a great game last week. A bunch of touchdowns, a bunch of yards. He made one acrobatic play where a kid had a hold of his leg, and he just fires it, on one leg basically for a touchdown. So
with how they played last week, they just looked undeniable on their offense, and I believe that transition from last week will carry over to this week, and bring that same value, that same kind of offense and everything this week for a Clemson outright win.
Yeah, I just think they're not going to be able to hold this our backup Cade Klubnik back very long. The kid from Texas. I'm really high on him, David. I've been high on him all year.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like DJ. I do. The kid's done everything everybody's asked him to. I just think it's a situation where if you look at Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence back when 2018 or 2019 when that happened, 2018 when that happened. We liked Kelly Bryant. He was a local kid from Wren High School, local kid, but you had Trevor Lawrence behind him. What are you going to do,
Yeah.
Same situation. We got DJ here.
Yeah.
And right now we got this Cade Klubnik kid behind him. So if DJ's struggling this game and we barely win this game or we win it in spite of DJ in that offense, then I think you're going to start hearing people scream Cade Klubnik again.
Halftime today.
What?
Halftime today.
Yeah, I hope not.
maybe
I hope DJ throws for 5 touchdowns, 500 yards, and this defense just knocks O'Leary on his butt. But I just, I want to see it. I want to see it. They're set up right now for College Game Day on Bowman Field. They're psyched. That environment's going to be incredible tonight. Clemson's got a new video board. The thing stretches from like one end to the other. I mean, it's incredible.
It's if the fans weren't only going to be amped for this game. Having College Game Day down there is just going to amplify it even more, and it's a hostile environment. Very hostile environment.
Our second hour today, I'm just going to walk away. I'm going to put him in the center and let him go for an hour.
We're ready, David.
I thought I could talk about Mizzou and stuff, and I'm not wearing the Mizzou gear, but his passion is just like mine with Mizzou. But, I'm just going to, like you said, just let him have the floor. I mean, this is his day. The College Game Day's there. It's not like any other Saturday. So until they get in the college playoffs. So when they're in there, he might take it a step further. But as far as regular season, this is his day.
All right.
I mean, look at him.
We have to, I know. I'm so excited. So let's, I want to talk about this place. We have to talk about this place, right? John and I have mentioned many times of having a facility like DraftKings at Casino Queen here in the St. Louis area. And I'm going to say it over and over again. I never thought that we'd have something like this in the St. Louis area. Is this place unbelievable?
This place is absolutely unbelievable. I absolutely love it. I thought I had to go to Vegas to see something like this, or maybe in Indiana to see something remotely like this. But when they had this mock-up of what it was going to be, and then for it to come to fruition and how it is set up, it's unbelievable. I mean, you got tables everywhere. You have private area. You have dozens of kiosks. You have great food, great service, unbelievable amount of TVs, major TVs. I mean, you walk in here, you would think you were at a Vegas sportsbook, a smaller one, right?
Yeah.
And it has that feel, where you just don't want to leave, right?
Ever.
Like I walk in here and I'm just like happy. It's like another place outside of home work. I love coming here. Like I genuinely love coming here and settling in. And the food is phenomenal. Get the barbecue pulled pork nachos.
And this is without us. And what I love.
And we don't even work here. I don't even work here.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't even work here.
You and I talk all the time, but this is coming straight from him and no pre-talk, no
nothing.
Anything. This is
nothing.
Yeah,
this is the feeling.
This is as good as it gets. It'll rival anywhere.
Yeah.
It's, if you want a bet, they've got it. They've got bets that you didn't even think were an option.
I mean, you can even bet on ping pong. I mean, how far do you want to go with this?
Wait a second. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I should know this, but I mean, ping pong.
Yeah, I haven't found much value. At the most I've seen is minus 500. So I try not to be a degenerate or anything, but I try to find value in anything, right?
Wait. So I have to say this. Like, when I go to sleep, I feel better. Maybe I'll start betting ping pong and it'll be over in the middle of the night. I sleep better knowing I got action to wake up to see, to see, to see who if I won, right? So I sleep so much better through the night when I got action somewhere in the world.
Especially if you had like a
ping pong.
Ping pong. But like waking up better, like a BYU game last night or a San Francisco Giants game, right? You had a total, you had the game.
The Washington UCLA game for me last night.
What did that finish at? The total was 64. Where did that get to? Did they get there on a
40-33.
Oh, wow. So it did get there.
No, 40-33. 40-32. 40-32. They needed a 2-point conversion if they would have scored.
Wow. UCLA definitely didn't show up at home. They are definitely looking underwhelming.
72. Yeah. Washington had a lot out on the back end of their defense.
Okay.
So UCLA was able to take advantage of it. So
we'll
see.
But yeah, going back to what they were just talking about real fast, if you can come out to Casino Queen, DraftKings at Casino Queen, it is absolutely phenomenal. You will want to settle in for, if not a whole game, more than one game. It's a great experience. Like I said, you don't need to go to a Vegas to have a great time here. You settle in here and you say, I'm going to DraftKings for Sunday, for a Saturday, right?
Yeah, week 2, I stayed here from 11 a.m. from the show, actually. So I guess, 9 a.m. until they shut the lights off on me, David, at 11 p.m.
11 p.m. See, I know the hours too. It's scary, and it's not right in front of me too. So.
Yeah, I did a 14-hour session here at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Hey, we're just started 14 hours. Then you got to come back for Sunday.
Yeah, no, you run it back. You see how you did. You see what you did and stuff. And even if you didn't have the best, it's a new day, a whole new league and stuff. And
there we go.
And you know that there's opportunity. That's the thing. There's opportunity. And you don't beat yourself down if you don't have the best day. You're not always going to have the best week, right? But you stay with it. And, good times ahead.
All right. Hey, Pete, thanks for joining us. We're going to definitely have you back real soon, man. This was a lot of fun. If you want to reserve a spot in the sportsbook here, just go to DraftKings at CasinoQueen.com. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be back with MMA specialist Micah Mills. We'll be right back.
Domination. I've got a golden ticket.
That's a winner!
Welcome back to the Winning Ticket. My name is David Scharf. To my far right is Clemson John, and right in the middle is a newcomer to our show, Micah Mills, our MMA expert. What's going on, Micah?
Thank you so much for having me. That's a great intro. Excited to be here and talk about the game.
Yeah, this is something that I'm not real familiar. A lot of my friends are real deep into it, and it's something I really want to learn. And more than anything, is I want to learn how to wager on it. I mean,
Okay.
that's what we do, and I'm all about betting anything, John. What do you right?
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that for sure.
All right. So, from a beginner standpoint, can you take us into the sport a little bit and tell us what it's all about?
Yeah, so I'd love to start with kind of my introduction to the fight game, and that was in 2005. I grew up, my background is wrestling. I'm from St. Louis, so I grew up basically in a wrestling community, and started that as a kid and went basically through high school, have always been passionate about it, and I coach now. And so as a result, wrestling kind of translates pretty well into the mixed martial arts space. And so in 2004, I watched my first ever MMA fight. And that was UFC 50. It's called the War of 04 between Matt Hughes and George St. Pierre, two of the greatest to ever do it.
What year was that?
2004.
2004.
Now, it's important to note that in the early days of UFC, which that would still be considered to be the early days, there was a lot of changes, and the mixed martial arts in the UFC that you see today was vastly different back then. So for me, that was my introduction. Since then, I've been following the sport very closely, and there's something to be said about just two people locked in a cage and going to do harm and combat to one another. It's addicting. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to bet on. And frankly, I think that more than anything, the storylines behind a lot of these fighters, the fact that since the beginning of time, you have two people, they have been fighting. And from all over, all different parts of the world, there are people fighting, and there's different styles of fighting. So you have Brazil, you have jiu-jitsu, you have wrestling in Russia, you have boxing in Mexico. So it's really fun to see all of these styles come together in what we know is mixed martial arts.
So, I guess I went back and watched the first original big one, and the smallest guy who
Royce Gracie.
Yeah, Hoist Gracie. I mean, what a neat story, and he just annihilated everybody in his path.
That's correct.
Didn't matter what size they were. Didn't matter what discipline they knew. Right.
So he was one of and the Gracie family are really the pioneers of jiu-jitsu as we know it today. And so he came in wearing his white gi that you would see like in a karate movie against these absolute monsters. And frankly, he would go in, he'd take them down, and get them to submit immediately. And it really changed the whole world's perspective on fighting, what works, what doesn't. And for a long time, there was this concept that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the best martial art until the sport has evolved, changed, and developed. And so that was really what kind of kicked off people's intrigue into this guy who weighs 170 pounds shouldn't be beating up on these 300-pound monsters. And yet he would go in there and just methodically, rhythmically, and really with a lot of patience, just pick these guys apart.
Yeah. So, but it's totally different now. You have your weight classes, right?
Correct.
So now, does that equal things out? Because back then, I mean, he was the smallest guy, and right?
Yes, absolutely. So the introduction of weight classes started in the early 2000s, and that was when it kind of came to a head where initially there was a big pushback against the UFC, and that was because it was known as human cockfighting, and there were senators. John McCain was a big advocate against fighting professionally. And so there was kind of these dark ages of the fight game, and what Dana White did was he came in and ran towards regulation. So initially something that was marketed as a no holds barred fight to the death, he ran towards regulation like you do in boxing. And so a part of that is the now 12 different weight classes, 8 for men, 4 for the women. And if you want, we can go into those real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So starting out for the men, you have your flyweights.
It doesn't have to be real quick. We got plenty of time.
So
lay it on me.
So your flyweights for men, you can see it right here, but you got your flyweights for men is 125, bantamweight is 35, featherweight is 45, lightweight 55, welterweight 170, middleweight 185, light heavyweight is 205, and then heavyweight is 265.
Wow.
So how does that differ from boxing weight classes?
I was going to ask the same question. Yeah.
Boxing is notoriously bad about weight classes, and they have so many different weight classes that the one thing that the UFC has done really well in branding is creating these unified weight classes. Now, boxing doesn't really have a uniform system so there's like Floyd Mayweather was, I think, like 12 different weight class champions, even though it was only within like a 15-pound range. That's just because the way in which boxing is done versus fighting.
Is that because he's fighting up in classes?
It's because there's a weight class like every 3 to 5 pounds in boxing, as opposed to in fighting where it's 10, 15, and up.
That makes sense. So the MMA is going to do it every 10 pounds, and then when it goes so it's 125 up to 155, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different weight classes every 10 pounds.
Correct.
And then it's going to jump 15 pounds from lightweight to welterweight, and then 15 from welter to middle, and then middle to lightweight, it's going to jump 20 pounds.
Correct.
There's a big jump from light heavyweight to heavyweight. There's a 60-pound jump from lightweight to heavyweight.
That's correct. So that is kind of the way in which the new uniform system has been designed. Now, it's important to note, though, when it comes to these weight classes, all of these competitors are cutting tremendous amounts of weight. So when a guy steps on the scale at 155, and I'll give you an example, there's a guy named Michael Chandler, who's an elite fighter. He was a Mizzou wrestler, St. Louis guy.
Yeah.
He's fighting again here in November, but he will step on the scale at 155 on Friday morning at weigh-ins, and he will end that evening, Friday night, weighing about 180. So that gives you a perspective. Yeah.
But they all do it, right?
They all do it.
So what's the point? That's, right, if they all do it, what's the point of even
So he'll go from 155 to 180 in what amount of time?
About 12 hours.
Is that, I guess, all water
It's
weight?
water, it's food. These guys deplete themselves, dehydrate themselves.
But why
sit
do
in
they
the
all do it?
saunas.
Why can't they just? It doesn't make sense, I guess, in my brain.
Because
Why put yourself through that if they're all going to do it?
Because when you think about the disparity and the fact that they are all doing it, and I weigh around 160, I would probably fight at 135 on a typical day. And that's just because the other guys that I would be competing with are going to be fighting at 135 as well. And now you have a big disparity. If I were to fight at 155, I'm fighting against guys that weigh 180 when we walk into the cage together. So that's why they do it. It's a very controversial thing. We've had fighters pull out of fights. We've had fighters get hurt, fighters go to the hospital, and unfortunately, even fighters die during this weight cutting process. So it's a very controversial component of the sport, but it's something that's really hard to eliminate because these guys are always looking for that extra edge.
So what's one of the main things that they would do in the weight cutting thing so drastically?
So it's most fighters will have an 8 to 12 week camp going in, and that's where you start with kind of your calorie deficiency throughout that camp, and then that last week is really that big weight cut push. So most guys will come into the week around 7% of their body weight over the weight limit, so anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds, and then they'll cut that the final part of it that last night or two leading up to the fight. So when you see these guys step on the scale on Friday and they do their big flex, they are dying. It's important to know that these guys are about to pass out. We've seen fighters pass out on the scales in the past. So it's one of those things. Some do it more than others. The Russians are notorious for it, but it's really a universal.
How much time is between that final weigh-in and the match?
So final weigh-in will be around, I think, 9 or 10 a.m. on Friday, and then you fight on Saturday afternoon or evening. So you have a full 24 to 36 hours typically.
So after that fight,
recover.
they're probably ready to get some
they
calories
will go
and some food back.
slam some food.
So, like, I mean, by the way, reason why I'm texting right now, we're gonna have Evan Elder on within the next few weeks. He's right now training at Killcliff.
Yep.
And I'm texting with him right now. And hey, Evan, what's up? Can't wait to meet you soon and have you on. But man, I'm so fascinated by why you would do that if everybody's doing it, right?
It's one of those things where it's just, I think it always comes back to, do you feel like you're getting a perceived advantage by going into a fight knowing that you're going to either be significantly smaller or bigger than your opponent? It's what it typically comes down
Do
to.
you want to be smaller versus this guy or bigger versus that guy?
Correct. Correct.
So I've always been a boxing guy,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Me as well.
well, I'm in my 50s, and that's just kind of how I grew up, right around the boxing world. And right as a, right in my teenage years, here comes Mike Tyson, and I just that's what I grew up with, and
Absolutely.
even my friends my age are all getting into MMA, and and it's taken me a while to get there. Now I'm so interested after watching several matches now, and man, I like it all. I think the women put on a great show also.
They absolutely
and,
do.
And man, they're something else.
So speaking of that, can we go into the fights for today,
Oh.
which is headlined by
Yeah.
two of our women, Mackenzie Dern.
Wait, I got to get out the betting sheet. Hold on a second.
Please
I
do.
want to follow. You think I'm not going to get in action? What are you talking about? Go on. That's why we're here. All right, I got it. I'm ready to go.
Now I want to be transparent.
Okay.
If this is your first time watching fights, if you're listening, or if you've never seen a fight in your life, this is not the most stacked card. Just top to bottom, it's not the best. However, there are some really intriguing fights, some really intriguing matchups, starting with our headliner between Mackenzie Dern and, I need to pronounce her name correctly, excuse me, Yan Xiaonan. So we have Dern at minus
very good.
235.
Okay, good.
I did my best.
No, you did.
And Mackenzie, it's a classic striker versus grappler matchup. Mackenzie Dern is a Brazilian, two-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. She is an absolute killer on the mat. And then you have Yan Xiaonan, who is a fantastic striker. I am a big believer that Dern will get this to the mat and submit her in round 2. And that is just because when it comes to a life, Mackenzie Dern started training at age 3. She started competing at age 5. It is hard to overcome a lifetime of grappling at the highest level, which Mackenzie Dern has done.
She started training at age 3.
At age 3.
Good
And
Lord.
That's one of the cool
Wow.
things about this fight game is you have these Brazilians that are training out of the favelas in Brazil, and the UFC does a fantastic job of showcasing the backgrounds of these folks. You have Yan, who's coming from China and is a fantastic striker, has a judo background, has done some Muay Thai. And then you have other fighters from all over the world that, again, have their own country's backing with whatever style that might be. And it's really fun to just watch these style matchups come together.
Well, I don't know who you're going to pick, but it's hard to bet against somebody that's been training since they were 3 years old.
That's a big part of it. And unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, that's the case for a lot of these fighters. They have been training all of their lives. And now I think, like you were saying, boxing, most folks came up, if you wanted to go the fight route, you would go into boxing. Whereas for the first time, I think ever, you're seeing a lot of these kids that are growing up into this system wanting to be the next Conor McGregor, wanting to be the next Khabib Nurmagomedov, or one of these other fantastic fighters.
So we're taking who are we taking? Just to be clear.
So we're taking Mackenzie Dern by submission, and I'm going to say in round 2.
Okay, so what's great is I'm assuming I can take the minus 235, but I can also bet round 2, and I can also take by submission.
Correct.
Yeah, DraftKings at Casino Queen has a lot of options. They probably got options on this fight if you click the button on the kiosk that you didn't even know existed.
It probably had an over-under on what age they started.
Over-under on the age?
So
That's a pretty hardcore bet. I don't know about that one.
They're starting at 3. Over-under's 3.5. Starting to learn how to fight.
Now, can we talk for a second about age and how that plays a really big factor?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let me ask you, do they typically do that? You said it was in Brazil. Do they typically do that in other countries versus America, or how does that work?
You're saying for the growing up in
do they typically train them younger in other countries?
Yes and no. So depending on the country, if you have specifically Brazil, they're known for their jiu-jitsu, and there are kids all over Brazil that want to be the next great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. So
Yeah,
outside
sure.
of soccer, that's really one of their big sports. Same thing. Russia is notorious for their wrestling. The Middle East, in particular, fantastic at wrestling. Mexican kids are boxing from the time they can walk. I mean, there's a lot of that, and it's really kind of top down that you see. And so the more that the sport grows, the younger that the kids typically get into it. That makes any sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did want to touch a little bit on age, because on the co-main event, we have Randy Brown versus Francisco Trinaldo. And if I'm not mistaken, Francisco Trinaldo is 44 years old.
Wow.
So to give you some perspective, as of right now, the majority of the UFC champions are over the age of 30. And I think that that's an interesting number, just because of A, the lifestyle that you have to live,
Right.
but B, I truly believe that fighting is one thing that takes years and years and years and years to really, really grasp all of the intricacies. And that's why you see a lot of these fighters get into their 30s before they really break into the top highest level.
Yeah, so interesting, right? Especially when you're talking about handicapping too, right?
Mhm.
So actually, in maybe a little bit older you are, maybe the more advanced you might have.
Give and take for sure. There's a give and take, because you have to consider, and the just years and years and years of being punched, and injuries, everything else that goes into it. But
You're not as fast as you used to be.
correct.
Probably.
Correct.
Oh, I definitely know we're not.
Yeah. Big difference between 40 and 30, David.
Well, how about you're 37?
37.
I'm 51.
Yeah.
So I'm a turtle.
Well, you're in your UFC prime. I think.
Oh,
UFC prime.
Yeah, I think this is your year. I think this is your year.
This is your year.
We cut you down to 155, you'll be just fine.
There's no way he's getting down to 155.
No.
I don't think he wants to.
155. Woo.
Yeah.
That'd be rough.
One
Gosh.
One other thing I did want to touch on is upcoming in October, the 22nd, is UFC 280. Now, that is going to be, I think, a must-see television event. That is between Charles Oliveira, another Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, versus Islam Makhachev. Now, Islam comes from from Dagestan, Russia, which is, again, known for its fantastic wrestling, grappling. Islam Makhachev is best friends and training partners with a guy named Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is most known for beating Conor McGregor and then jumping over the fence in that melee, if you recall that, back at UFC 229 in 2018. So these guys are absolute stud animals that come out of Dagestan.
So what weight class is that?
That will be at 155.
155?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Now, Oliveira has been the champion now. He's actually not currently the champion because he missed weight at his last championship fight. So he missed weight by a half of a pound. As a result, he was stripped of his title.
Wow,
and
he missed weight by a half a
of a
pound.
pound. Yep.
Wow.
Happens all the time.
Wow.
So this will currently be a vacant title belt. However, in most fans' minds, Charles Oliveira is the champion. Islam Makhachev is the challenger. And it'll be an absolute war bloodbath between two of the best probably to ever do it with these two guys.
Wow. And you said that's UFC 280?
That is UFC 280.
So for novices like me that are watching, how did they determine the numbers? Have they done 280 of these things?
That's correct.
Wow.
Once a month.
So there was a UFC 1.
Correct.
And that was 2004 maybe?
No. That was 93.
93 was
Correct.
UFC 1. Oh, I did not know that. Wow.
Correct.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. That's a long time ago.
Yep.
1993. Yeah.
So that was the Hoist Gracie.
Yeah.
And that back in that day, it was a tournament format that was all held on one night. So these guys would fight multiple times in one night. They eventually got away from that simply because by the time you got to the championship fight, neither fighter could go because they've been in two other fist fights leading up to that event.
Wow. So they used to have 3 fights potentially in one night to
yeah.
determine a champion.
Correct.
Man.
Correct. That's a lot.
We've gotten a long way away
I
from
wouldn't
that.
spend 5 seconds with any of them.
Oh, gosh. I couldn't get down to 155, baby. Oh.
These men and women are absolute killers, hammers.
So it stayed from 93 until Dana got a hold of it, and Dana White did the regulation part of it until what year would you say?
Early 2000s. I'd have to double check on when exactly
Okay.
he took over. I want to say maybe late 90s he took over in some capacity, and then early 2000s. I'd have to fact check a little bit on that, but that's really the late 90s are known as the dark ages of MMA.
Right,
That
when they do those 3 fights in one night.
Yes, and that was when, again, a lot of legislation was going against mixed martial arts. They weren't being able to be sanctioned events with the athletic commissions, and so as a result, it's now changed to what we've seen today, which is one of the fastest growing sports in the world and one of the largest sports in the world.
There's something I wanted to ask you too.
Yes, sir.
How do you think? So, just me coming, and David as well, coming from more of like a boxing fandom in the 90s, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much of a role do you think UFC's current and in the last 10 years maybe popularity has stemmed from guys like me and David stepping in to watch something like that, because there's just no boxing the last 10 or more years? How much do you think popularity has played into that where there's no boxing?
Very, very interesting question. And I think it was a lot of the boxing purists initially rejected just the whole idea of the UFC. This is, again, human cockfighting, and it's not the purity of sport like you see in boxing. Yeah. It's somebody who's getting their face beat in on a mat. We don't like that. However, as more and more boxers have transitioned, especially high-level amateur boxers have transitioned into this mixed martial arts space, it's really kind of taken, I think, the whole community by storm. And now I think there's kind of a mutual respect between both. However, at the end of the day, I think that MMA has really hurt boxing on that front just because of its rise of popularity. And now it's there's almost, because of the way that a lot of the top boxing stars now box, and that is smart, defensive, credit to them, but you don't see as many of just the wild, insane fights, KOs, blood, the things that fans go nuts for in boxing anymore as you do on just a daily basis with mixed martial arts. Yeah,
and this is more of a boxing perspective, but why is there not as many boxing matches as there used to be? I mean, you look at the 90s, guys fighting all the time. Now it's like they might fight twice a year if they're lucky.
So boxing has done one thing terribly to its athletes, and that is that you can't lose. All of the top boxers, right? They have this zero, and then whatever their win percentage is. So you have Floyd Mayweather at 50-0. You have Canelo and all these other guys that are really, really top level, but they fought 30 tomato cans. So it's kind of like, and so the boxing community can't get over
fight if tomato can.
If you,
I could eat a tomato can
after weigh-in.
After weight. That's it. After the fight and after weight. Let's go
to making weight.
No,
he's never making weight.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. If I did, I'd go to buffet.
Yeah. And I could talk all day about boxing. I think it's a dirty sport. I think that the people who run boxing aren't doing it well. And I think Dana White in particular has grown mixed martial arts by doing all of the things, both from a regulatory standpoint, the right way, from an athletic standpoint, a lot of the right way. And ultimately at the end of the day, given the fan, I think boxing hasn't done that. And as a result, it's suffered.
That's what I was thinking, that the fact that the boxing just went downhill on its own, and here comes MMA saying, hey, we're right here, guys. Yep. Look at us. And then, they're going through the roof. What is the controversy? Because I don't, novices like me.
Me too.
That's what this is about, maybe. But what is the controversy about Dana and them getting on Dana about him, how much he's paying the fighters and the pay for the fighters?
Really difficult question, because there's a lot more that goes into it, and I'm sort of in both camps, where I think it's kind of a shame that some of these fighters are making what they're making, which is very, very little if you're not one of the top guys. At the same time, Dana White has spent his entire life and career building this business, and the amount of infrastructure and staffing and costs and expense that go into putting on these UFC events is astronomical.
Yeah.
And so
For sure.
it's kind of a double-edged sword where he's got all of the greatest talent. He's monopolized in a lot of way the fight game. So he kind of calls the shots and pays fighters what he's willing and able to do. At the same time, that translates with people coming after him for being a multi-billionaire, and some of these fighters are, more or less collecting food stamps if they're not at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, it seems like Dana said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard Dana say the fighters are happy with it. I don't see any of the fighters necessarily complaining. They're happy with being part of the UFC and being with Dana and the whole gig. So it seems like the fighters are happy for the most part.
There's something that's called that's been coined by Tony Ferguson, El Kukui, the Boogeyman, who is a legend in the sport.
Oh,
fantastic guy! If you ever have time, go on YouTube and just look up Tony Ferguson funny moments.
Was he a previous fighter? Or
he's a current fighter.
Oh, current fighter. Okay.
Current fighter. So he most recently fought the Michael Chandler that I had mentioned, and Chandler head kicked him into oblivion.
Oh,
but
wow.
Tony Ferguson has what he coined what's called Dana White privilege.
Okay.
And that is when the UFC identifies a fighter that we think we can make a lot of money on. We can sell this guy or gal, and then they kind of give them the UFC promotional boost. So in that regard, there's nothing better. There's no better place to be than in the UFC. However, it's shown time and time again that if you get on Dana's bad side, it's pretty quick that they'll either show you the door or you're just not, it's not a good place to be.
So it could be a perspective of, we don't really know in the public eye how these fighters think about their pay, because they're a little afraid of getting on Dana's bad side and him just ruining their career.
And really just in the last couple of years, the last couple months even, there's been more and more of these fighters to come forward and say, hey, I need to be paid more. These boxers are making $50 million, for one fight, and I'm making $50,000 if I knock them out in the first round type deal. So that's how fights after at the end of each fight night, Dana White will give out bonuses. So performance of the night, fight of the night, things like that. And that's a $50,000 bonus on top of whatever your show and win money is.
Yeah, I'm finding this absolutely fascinating. You're
Absolutely.
definitely a wealth of knowledge, and so I want to get back to your picks because I want some action today.
All right.
And,
All right.
tonight, right? It's got tonight. What time does it start
so
tonight? Let's see.
the card UFC Fight Night tonight starts on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and that will start at 4:00.
Okay.
Is the main card
Central Time?
correct?
Okay.
Now I just want to go through a couple of them. I believe that we have Sadiq Youssef versus Don Shainis. Youssef is an absolutely incredible, terrifying striker, and is fantastic on the ground as well. He's a minus 1,000 right now. This is a short notice fight. He was originally, his opponent had to withdraw due to injury. So this Don Shainis is someone that I'm not super familiar with. He was the name that jumped off the page. Sadiq Youssef, when I saw him, he was the name that jumped off the page for me initially. Just an absolute hammer. So I would take him if I can. I would say by second round finish.
Okay, this is what I'm getting at. I'm not gonna take minus 1,000.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Ever. And
Totally
even in
understand.
parlays, I'm not even gonna put it in there.
That's
so
why
this is what we got by
Yep.
second round finish.
Yes.
What kind of price do you think we can get on that?
That is a good question, and
Just
I
a
don't have the
guesstimate.
answer for you.
Any kind of guesstimate?
For the
A
second round finish,
Yeah, just it
would-
doesn't have to be perfect.
I would guess
I'm going to
minus
find out in a
300.
minute. but-
I would guess you probably be at plus 200
Okay.
for a second round finish. If
So
I
that's
was
a
to-
huge-
200?
Yeah,
Wow.
so you're taking a minus 1,000 fighter. And now
How many
you just made
rounds
it-
is there again? 3 or 5?
This will be a 3-round fight.
3-round fight.
Yes.
Okay.
So the main event is a 5-round fight. The other fights will be 3.
So this one's 3.
Correct.
But if you exactly a second round finish has to finish in the second round, go to plus 200. I mean, that to me, now there's value in that.
That's potentially the value, but I will be upfront. I don't have the numbers in front of
That's
me
okay.
for that.
Yeah.
So if you can, second round finish by Sadiq Youssef. The next fight we have Raoni Barcelos versus Trevin Jones. Barcelos is the favorite in this, but I'm going to take him by decision.
Take who you taking?
Barcelos.
Okay, by decision.
By decision. Again, a 3-round fight. I just think Barcelos is the more well-rounded fighter. He's got better leg kicks. He's going to slow down Trevin Jones in the early parts of the fight. I don't see either one of these fights being finished. So that's my opinion on that.
Oh, I like it. It's other. I mean, if I'm going to bet minus 230, I'm going to make a parlay, right?
Absolutely.
I'm going to take 3 of these minus 230, 330. I'll make a parlay, but I like if I'm going to bet individually, I'm not going to lay 300, 400. I'm not going to. Just me personally, I don't find any value. In
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Totally understand.
So I'd rather take a little gamble and get a plus number.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I looked it up. Sadiq Yusuf to win by knockout, TKO, DQ in round 2. That's what you're saying. Plus 350.
There you
Wow.
go.
Oh, there we
Plus
go.
350.
All right, so my guess wasn't too
Look
far.
at me, so excited.
And I apologize. I need to be transparent too that I love the fight game. I'm very invested. However, I am not the biggest gambler.
Right.
And you guys are going to change that for me.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, we'll just bet for you.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all. You don't have. We'll make our way.
I'm
We'll be
very
all right.
excited to get more. Usually when I do my betting, it is on fights, but it's usually with just some friends. We kind of have like a little group chat, and then we just go back and forth.
Yeah,
So,
we need to take him. We need to take him to the window. We'll take you to the window. I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing. We're gonna take you right to the window, and we're
Please.
gonna teach you. We're gonna teach you how to bet at the window or the kiosk. And what you'll find is when we go later on, if you want, we'll go to that kiosk right here, DraftKings Casino Queen, and you'll see all the different options on how you can bet. And there's probably some that you don't even know that you can bet.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm looking forward to as we do hopefully more of this down the road is some of these prop bets. Very, very exciting in
Yeah.
the UFC space versus any other sport.
John, we've learned a couple of new things. You can bet on ping pong.
Yeah.
You can ping
Ping pong was the first sport back from COVID.
COVID. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the degenerates were hammering away at
Yeah.
ping pong, you know.
I
Now-
love it.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to address one thing that I think the UFC's done fantastic throughout COVID, and that is our guy Dana White. When COVID hit, he saw the writing on the wall. They're going to shut everything down. The guy goes out and more or less buys an island, Yaz Island in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
And they put together, hands down, the best COVID bubble. If you go on ESPN Plus, there's a series called UFC Fight Island Declassified. Highly recommend checking that out because
Yeah,
it goes through
absolutely.
the process of what Dana White did, working with the United Arab Emirates to basically create this insane infrastructure bubble community that they're still using to this day. And we're able to get fights going really quicker than any other sport. So hats off to Dana White and the UFC team for putting that together and saying, we're not going to let this COVID stop us from doing what we do. And put on
I
the
remember
best.
that Fight Island. It was the second thing back from
Not
COVID.
to be confused with Fire Island.
Fire
There's,
Island.
there's a documentary about the party that never happened.
Fire Festival.
Fire Festival.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
yeah, Fire Festival. That was that kid that, I'm not much in the entertainment celebrity world, but some kid said he was going to throw a party. What happened?
Yeah,
Billy's
and he took some money.
Yeah.
And he took all their
and
money.
Ja Rule.
Yeah.
Ja
Yeah.
Rule famously.
Yeah.
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 And they
And
took
shut
all
up
this
their
money.
tents. They shut up their tents. There wasn't anything going on.
Kind of
Anyway, I know we're getting off subject, but
opposite outcome
so
for Fight Island.
Fight Island,
Fight
not
Island.
Fire
That's
Island.
right.
Fight
That's right.
Island.
Yeah,
I was betting on some of those fights for sure.
yeah.
I didn't make it into the ping pong world,
No, we're going to.
but
We're doing a ping pong parlay tonight, so I can sleep
Yeah, it's only
like a
10 a.m.
baby. Yeah.
but I was hammering away at some
Hey,
UFC
Ping
Fight
pong
Island.
parlay, the triple P. Sleep good at night with the triple P.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Got it.
So there's no way that this Don Shane beats Yusuf, right?
He likes the long shot. He likes the plus number.
So Dana White is famous for when you lock two people in a cage, they start throwing punches, anything can happen. That's a fact. There's a lot of people with a lot less money than they should have because they've seen that and have gone for it. Sadiq Yusuf is hands down the better fighter.
Yeah.
He should win this fight. However, Don Shanis is an absolute brawler. He is going to come out with nothing to lose. He's going to be swinging for the fences from the beginning.
So he's not going to last 3 rounds.
No.
If Don Shanis wins this fight, it's going to be from knockout, probably.
Correct. And to be fair, Sadiq Youssef has been shown to be a little chinny in the past. Got knocked out by Allen. So he's shown a few signs of weaknesses. If he can weather he should run away with it.
Don Shanis is 60-1 in a round 3 knockout.
Look at this. Are we ready? Okay. Hey, can you stick with us a little bit?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we got to take a quick break. We're only going to be gone a couple minutes. We're live here at DraftKings at Casino Queen. Quick break. We'll be right back.
Domination.
I've got a golden ticket.
That's a winner!
We are live here at DraftKings at Casino Queen. My name is David Sharf, Clemson John all the way on the far side, and Micah Mills in the middle. We're talking MMA fight game, learning so much, Micah, man. I'm glad. I'm really super glad you came and joined us this morning. Before we get into some football, because we're going to talk some football with you, what's some future fighters to look for? I know you wanted to talk about that. So
There is a young man out of Penn State Wrestling. He is a 3-time national champion at Penn State. He's also a world champion in freestyle wrestling. His name is Bo Nickel, Bonickal. This guy is an absolute hammer. He just came through the Dana White Contender Series, which is basically the new platform where all these top talents from all over the world come to compete. If they impress the big boss, they get the UFC contract. Well, he just did that on Tuesday, winning his 5th professional fight, his 3rd within the UFC kind of sphere. And he has also fought 5 times, I believe this year, fought 5 times and he's 5 first-round finishes and has not been hit.
what?
That is a real
That sounds like my kind of fight.
Yes, there's a quote here from the Twitterverse about Bo Nickel.
Yep.
It says, if you put Kamzat, who's Kamzat?
Hamzat Chimaev.
Hamzat Chimaev.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hamzat, and if you put Hamzat and you put Bo Nickel in a wrestling match, Bo Nickel would tech him.
Yes.
Would tech him. It would literally be no contest. It would be an easy day for Bo Nickel.
So Hamzat is another one of these rising stars that has taken the world by storm. Similar kind of pedigree where he fights out of Sweden, but he's from Russia. a terrifying human being. And when you see these guys with these the bald head and the chin strap and the ears, just don't even mess with him. Period. Just a scary individual. Just one of those guys. I come from Russia. All I do is smash. I am crazy Russian. I come from Russia. All I do is I smash my opponent. I kill you all. I mean,
Kill me or kill you.
He's just like one of those guys that is a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
Terrifying human.
Yeah.
So what this guy, I saw this quote earlier today. Aaron Pico, who is another fighter and former wrestler and a very highly touted prospect himself. He's saying essentially that this Khamzat Chimaev, who all the UFC fans know and love or basically follow, he would lose to this guy, Bo Nickel, who I'm talking about.
Wow. That's a pretty big thing to say there.
It is. It's two of the bigger, I think, upcoming stars. Chimaev already a big star in his own right, but I think Bo Nickel, keep an eye out for this guy. He is the future. He won the Hodge Trophy for NCAA wrestling, which is the equivalent of the Heisman. So again, he's got that wrestling background, and he's also showing right now that he can punch as well.
Okay. Want to remind everybody that we also do the winning ticket on Friday nights from 6 to 7 Central Time on 590 The Fan here in St. Louis. And we do every Saturday morning from DraftKings at Casino Queen live from 9 to 11 Central. Micah, we have to talk some college football while you're here. I know you went down to the Auburn-Mizzou game last week, and while we were on break, we were having a little laugh about the game. So tell us about your experience down at Auburn.
Well, my experience at Auburn when I was there was about as good as you can ask for. And what I mean by that is my freshman year was the Cam Newton era. And that was the year we went on to win the championship, beat Oregon in the final. And then my senior year was the kick six. So the kick field goal run back. I was on the field for that. If you recall, the week before that was the Georgia, the prayer and Jordan Hare with the tipped up pass. And so I was there at the right time. It was I got to go to the Rose Bowl national championship my senior year. Unfortunately, we lost to Jameis Winston and Jimbo Fisher and that of Florida State. We'll never forgive them. Still hate Jimbo to this day. But that being said, had a fantastic Auburn football experience. And
okay, be more direct. Weekend. We talked about this on break.
Well, I'll just repeat what I said. The best way that I heard it put in that Auburn-Mizzou travesty of a football game was a commentator after a great game will say, it's too bad one of these teams had to lose. Well, it's too bad that one of those teams had to win because there was basically multiple times throughout the game that I had mailed it in and said that we've lost this. And then, of course, Mizzou finds a way to miss a field goal to win the game and then fumble the ball into the end zone. And one of the most elementary displays of SEC football that we've seen in some time.
Yeah, just incredible. I mean, there's so many things you can do other than I feel for the kid, but it's like, barrel your head down, cross the goal line, dive, something. He tried to reach it across, and the ball just falls out of his hand, rolls into the end zone. Just, heartbreak city. I'd still be on the floor if that was a big-time Clemson game. They'd be peeling me off, David, saying, let's go, John. Yeah. Let's go. It's been a week, you know. Let's get back to life.
What's interesting about that one, too, is that I think that it got to a point in that second half where I think there's a good amount of Auburn fans that were pulling for Mizzou, mostly because we're ready.
They're ready to fire,
get rid of
Harsons.
That makes sense.
I don't think he's long for this Auburn world. I think that they're going to get rid of him sooner rather than later. And if LSU does what I anticipate they're going to do to them today, it could be a.
Let me find that. What's the line on that? What's the line on that? John will find it.
I believe it was Auburn plus 7.5. I believe.
Is that you don't think that's enough, huh? No.
We can't move the football.
It's moved to 8.5.
8.5. I like LSU in that.
Auburn plus 8.5. Everybody.
That's got to be hard for you to say. I mean, I know you both are passionate about your home
Well,
school,
hey,
and I am too.
I've been there too before. We had a defensive coordinator. Is Kevin still at Auburn?
Not anymore.
No, I can't
No
remember.
longer.
Kevin Steele's been to every college in
Yep.
North America.
Yep.
But he has, from coaching to assistant to helping to, man at training, whatever,
Yep.
But, yeah, I've been there before. We had Kevin Steele as our defensive coordinator in like 2009 and 10, I think, and 11. And, we just couldn't wait to get rid of Kevin Steele. So that happens in college football.
Yeah.
You can't wait to get rid of the bad coordinator or the bad coach. You're like, please just go ahead and get rid of this guy.
Well, I'm fortunate enough at my school, Arizona State, Herm Edwards gone.
Mhm.
I've been saying that for a while that he needed to go, and I'm glad.
So you're a Sun Devil.
I am a Sun Devil.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
to know.
let's clarify, and I did this on the radio yesterday. I paid for school. Didn't do much attending of class. Hi, Mom. How you doing? Thanks. Thanks for college.
Back when nothing mattered.
Well, I don't know what to say.
All the nights I can
I
remember and all the ones I can't.
Well, I showed up to class, got my syllabus, and I maybe went. I don't know. I can't remember.
took
It was a long time ago. I'll
syllabus-
just say
syllabus
I'm going to
one.
use that excuse. It was over 30 years ago, and but if you've ever been to Tempe, all I'm going to tell you is that campus is absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
It's
I've always said ASU should be, back in the forefront of, having the whole strong foot in that Western region for college football. So they got to find the right guy. It's all about coaching.
So from what I've seen from Arizona State, as a guy with a girlfriend that I would like to keep around, I don't need to be anywhere near that campus.
Yeah, so I'll give you for instance. I still remember I had a calling card. There was no cell phones back when I went to college.
Yeah, I
Oh,
remember those vaguely.
It's not that long ago. Okay, oh, it is. Okay.
25 years ago.
So in 1989, I remember having a calling card my dad gave me, and I remember after my first class had about over 500 kids in it, and I remember looking around and I remember going to a payphone right after that class and calling my dad, and he says, "What's up, son?" And I said, "I'm in the right spot." That's all I remember.
That's right.
It's like, I'm in the right place. Thank you very much. But great experience, great sports. I had season tickets for years to all the to basketball and football. I went to a lot of baseball games too. Really good years for baseball. Arizona State. I mean, it's hot. It's hot out there. But once you get past September, you're good. And it's one of the most beautiful places in the United States to be.
9 great months and 3 miserable months.
Getting closer to 4.
Yeah.
Not great. It's just like, I guess, like winter here. Summer there, you find stuff to do inside, and as a gambler, I've always found stuff to do.
Well,
inside.
It's interesting because when I think of Arizona State, now this is just because of my background, I think of their wrestling program.
Yeah.
They actually have a fantastic wrestling program, and one of the cooler athletes in my mind of the past couple decades is a guy named Anthony Robles out of Arizona State, who was a one-legged wrestler who won the national title for the Sun Devils.
One-legged wrestler won a national title.
Up, one leg. Yeah, he wrestled 125 pounds, and because he had one leg, he was built like a guy who had would weigh 180.
Who's the best Auburn wrestler?
We don't have a wrestling program.
Oh, really?
No wrestling in the South.
I don't think Clemson does either.
No wrestling in the South.
Clemson doesn't. Yeah.
Title IX.
Thank you.
They used to have a national championship level program, and then Title IX, no wrestling. Basically, south of Oklahoma, there's no wrestling.
Really?
In
South Oklahoma and all the way to the coast.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Florida, Alabama, Georgia,
South Carolina, North Carolina,
Tennessee. Most of these do not have, specifically in the SEC, no wrestling.
Wow.
Yep.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're still a wrestling guy. You coach wrestling?
I coach. Yes.
Yeah. Can I ask where or not? You rather not say?
I went to Westminster with Peter.
Okay.
And so I help coach there now.
Wow,
just part-time.
How much fun is that though?
Love it.
Right?
Love it. One of the favorite things that I do. The sport was great to me. I was fortunate to have awesome coaches and mentors growing up. If I can pay it forward a little bit. And again, I like hanging out with the kids. I like training, and it's a really, really good use of my time.
All right, so a little bit of college football. We got what do we got? We got about 5-10 minute ish left. What do you like? You after you watch your game. Is there any other teams that you really enjoy, Micah, to watch?
That's a good question. Well, I always like watching a team beat Bama, so I don't, I don't have that
There's
much.
that territory, right?
I don't have that much to like these days. You know, they Texas broke my heart a few weeks ago, and wish all the best to Quinn Ewers. I think if he had stayed in that game, they're going to win that by 2 scores. That's just my personal opinion. I do think that Alabama is vulnerable this year, so. At the end of the day, I love college football. I love good football, whether it's, watching us go to Penn State last year and then come to us this year. It's just fun to watch it at the biggest stage, at the highest levels. I'm a huge fan.
You know who, speaking of Auburn, you know who the only team to take Auburn to overtime that year, the beginning of the year, was Clemson. The missed field goal.
You know what?
We made a field goal to tie the game, David, and then they blew a whistle. False start. Yeah, the dang center snaps the ball. He stops and snaps it again.
Yep.
So they called a false start. We made the field goal. We got to kick the field goal again and back up 5 yards, right?
Yeah.
We missed the re-kick and missed the game.
Yep.
We were up 21-3 at halftime. Kyle Parker was lighting the world on fire, man. Jamie Harper, if you look up that 2010 game, hey, Jamie Harper made a diving catch into the end zone at the pylon. You know, young Dabo was fired up, man. But, we actually went 6-7 that year, you guys.
Which is insane if you think
6 and 7. We lost every game by less than 5 points.
When you think about what Auburn went on to do. And
we were the only team to take them to overtime that year.
And we survived some other scares that year against Kentucky. There was another similar thing, but I was
the comeback against Bama, right?
They
were down big,
24-0 or 3 or something at going into the half, and then we right going into the half. Ingram is running it into the end zone for Bama, and we strip it, and that was kind of what turned the tide.
And then after they stripped that ball, Cam Newton said, "Hey, I'm a man amongst boys here, fellas. Watch out."
That is correct. And he proceeded to do
had to be
the
fun
Cam
to be
Newton
at college
thing.
at that time.
It was amazing. I was just very fortunate to be there at the right time, but I do recall that game 100%. Maybe my favorite game that I attended that year, because I was sitting right where that field goal was missed. As a young freshman pledge of a fraternity, wearing my blazer and sport coat, doing pledgeship activities, probably camping out there overnight to save the seats for the other fraternity. You know how it goes.
Yeah, the kick six was you're not going to top that for an Auburn.
Was that the student section?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the kick six was hands down one of the to me is really probably the best moment in college football.
You get to rub it in Saban's face that he wanted the second back on the clock.
Yep.
And then his gimpy-legged field goal kicker gets out there, kicks it way short, and Chris Davis runs it back 109 yards to win the Iron Bowl and send them into an SEC championship game and a national championship.
One of my favorite stories from that came about the controversy surrounding the actual physical football that was kicked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you watch it back, and there's some footage that I believe has been scrubbed from the internet, but Davis catches it, he runs it back, and as he crosses the goal line, he drops the ball, and then, the fans swarm and everything. But there was this one angle that I saw right after the game had happened where he drops the ball and everybody goes and dogs piles on him, and you see one fan, the fans start to hop over to rush the field, and you see one fan hop over and he sprints up and he dives on the football and he takes off. Now there was all this debate.
Is this a conspiracy
there
theory?
was after the fact, because it was like, where is the football after the fact? And like Auburn put out a statement like, we don't know where it is. Like, we're looking for it. It was like very
Ryan
to
Kinner.
this day, I believe that this guy has got it in his basement. and it's up framed somewhere, and
Wait a
we'll sell
second.
it for $1 bazillion.
Ryan Kinder comes on our show. He's one of our handicappers. Ryan, and we talked about conspiracy theories. Ryan, I know you're out there, and I want to know about this conspiracy theory. I want you to do some research because you're the conspiracy guy on this show. I absolutely. I mean, anything's possible.
A couple days later, they claim they found it. They claim they got it back or whatever. The athletic department claimed that they had it, and then they auctioned it off for $1 bazillion.
A 3-pound football.
But
the deflated kick 6 iron bowl.
I still think that this guy, to this day, was the smartest man on the field that day. Came sprinting out, dives on the ball, then takes off into the crowd. Lost forever.
I mean, it can't just be a great moment, right? I mean, it was a great moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Which end zone were you in? What did you see?
I was on the kicking side.
Okay.
So, but I was really close to midfield. So I was
okay.
In a
great
it was
spot.
Unbelievable. Is senior
How
year.
much fun that had to be.
Just incredible.
God.
It was as good as it gets.
Probably the best moment in the Iron Bowl ever was that kick 6. Yeah. I mean, there's been some good ones when you play as long as they have and these rivalries, but man, there was the bow over the top in the 80s.
Yeah, there was the punt Bama punt.
There was the punt Bama punt in the 70s. Early 70s, I think. But,
a little before my time.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but
even
that
just
kick
in the
6
last,
is just incredible.
Yeah, even in the last decade, there's been some wild Iron Bowls. Even when Auburn has frankly been outmatched, I've always said that anything can happen in the Iron Bowl. That is for sure. And I do think, especially if it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium, where for whatever reason, God decides to continue to smile upon Auburn football.
Time
to time.
like
last week.
I've really only been to Sun Devil Stadium.
Really?
For college football. Yeah. And I'll go all the way back to when Nebraska came, and that was just incredible to see how many the following. I know it's Arizona and a beautiful time of the year, and of course but Nebraska fans travel well. I don't know how. I know Clemson fans travel well.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I'm assuming Auburn fans travel well, but I would like to experience going down there and watching a game. I definitely want to go to Clemson with you. I want to go with you.
Yeah, we're gonna get down there.
I mean, you see how fired up he gets.
Oh yeah.
I can't even imagine being with him at the stadium.
I'm very similar in my. Trust me, there was some expletives that were coming out.
Oh, thank you for not sharing them today. Yeah.
So, what brought you down to Auburn from St. Louis?
Girls in football.
Okay, that does it.
That's it.
I could lie to you and say that there was other. The reality is we drove. It was on a whim. Okay. We drove by my senior year on the way to spring break. We stopped at Auburn.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It was a perfect day. There's girls hanging out, sunbathing around campus. It's a beautiful campus. The stadium's insane. And I was like, all right, that's it. I mean, it's between here and Mizzou.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, except I wish you'd have been about 5 hours northeast.
I do. I love
the upstate of South Carolina.
I got plenty of love for Clemson, and frankly, I think they're pretty similar.
You know what they say about Clemson, right?
What's that?
Auburn with a lake.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Hey, Micah.
But very similar.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been, we've gone a whole hour with you, man. I'd love to have you back. This has been so much fun. Thanks for coming on.
For sure. Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right, we're live here, DraftKings at Casino Queen. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time for Clemson John and his picks. We'll be right back.
Domination.
I've got a golden ticket.
That's a winner!
Welcome back to the Winning Ticket. My name is David Sharp. We are live here at DraftKings at Casino Queen. Clemson John to my right. Man, we've had an incredible show today.
Yeah. It's just been it's been exciting, been fun.
A wealth of knowledge. Look how much we learned. I can't wait to go when this show is over. I'm going to get down on some ping pong so I can sleep good tonight. Ping pong parlays. We learned about that. What else? MMA. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that MMA stuff is very interesting.
How knowledgeable was he?
It's definitely on the rise. It's year after year after year. I mean, Dana White's got that thing. That bus is rolling under Dana White.
I mean, Micah, he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Man, that was.
Yeah. You could tell just from the moment of listening to him, like, oh, this guy way knows his stuff.
Yeah.
I can ask him anything. He's going to have an answer.
I like the options, and I can't wait to go look at the props. And I know there's a ton of props that I could. I mean, at some point, I'm going to have to watch some football today.
This is a great day. We've got fighting. We've got college football. We've got the NFL tomorrow.
No, you missed it. In between, while we're sleeping, we have ping pong.
Oh, yeah. You don't watch this stuff. I don't even know if you can.
Oh, I bet you can somewhere.
You can, yeah.
We're going to have to find out.
You got to have some obscure site to be able to watch that stuff.
I don't know, but I'll sleep better knowing I got action all the way through.
I don't know. We might can lay off the ping pong today because we've got some late night, get even worse games.
Yeah, I love
so.
Wait, and we also have an early NFL game tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's
the London game.
Yeah, it's an 8:30 a.m. Central start.
Yeah.
And they're in London.
They're in London.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if they keep going to London or not.
I like that. And I like the idea, believe it or not, in my brain, I like the idea of a London team.
Yeah, I know they're trying to expand their footprint. The same thing that NASCAR did when they took the races from the South and spread them out everywhere. But it'll be interesting to see. It'll either work or it won't, right? But that's why they're trying it.
You got 8:30 a.m. NFL tomorrow. And you got noon football. And then you got 3:30ish, and then you cap it off with Sunday Night Football. And then you can sleep in on Monday, and then you got Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you need a little break. I know isn't there usually a college game every night?
No, Thursday.
So
Thursday and Friday.
There's no Tuesday or Wednesday college football game?
Not typically. You might have once a week. There'll be like a Tuesday Sun Belt game pop up.
Well, yeah.
But Coastal playing Troy or.
That's okay.
Yeah. We'll have some action.
So this is many years ago, but a buddy of mine, I told him, he says, who do you got? And I said, I got Middle Tennessee State. And he goes, what the heck do you know about Middle Tennessee State? And you know what I told him? Absolutely nothing, but I bet him. So let's go.
Middle Tennessee State beat Miami last week.
I saw that. Yeah.
The Blue Raiders.
Yeah, maybe everybody knows who Middle Tennessee State is now, right? I just remember years ago, it's like it didn't matter. It was on TV and it was action, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of action, this is a big day for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. My Tigers are ready right now on Bowman Field. They're getting excited for College game day being there. And, tonight's just going to be an incredible environment. Guys, if you have not seen a big-time college football environment, tune in tonight. That place is going to be electric to see the Tigers run down the hill and get ready to just send NC State home crying all the way back to Raleigh, North Carolina.
Well, you know a great place you can watch it?
Oh,
right here.
Yeah, right here at Casino Queen is in DraftKings at Casino Queen. I've done 12 and 14-hour sessions, David. I can't leave. You've got, I don't know how many TVs they got, but there's enough to watch every football, baseball, basketball game, and even David's ping pong special.
That's it.
You've got incredible TVs. This rivals any Vegas sports book you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's great.
Right here in the St. Louis area.
Right. Yeah, right. That's the thing about it.
Unbelievable.
I never thought I'd see that. I've been here from South Carolina since 2005. When I got here in 2005, you never thought you'd see a sports book in the St. Louis area.
No.
Never.
No. Nothing outside of Vegas. If you guys need any information on booking a seat and any information at all about DraftKings at Casino Queen, it's DraftKings at CasinoQueen.com. And we are here every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 Central doing our show. And this is so much fun. I can't wait to get wrapped up and get in some action today. So speaking of action, John,
Yeah.
I know you got some picks today.
Oh, yeah, there's some stuff I've been looking at all
Just a
week,
few?
of course.
Just a few.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a few
we got-
dozen.
Okay, so
Just
we
a
got
few
we
dozen.
got about a little over 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's get to it. Come on, I want to get some action.
Well, I want to look at Minnesota's team total, the over on their team total.
What's the
it's
time?
been-
What's the time on that game?
It's at 11 o'clock.
All right, I got to get to my early.
It's going to start at 11 a.m. And that's the way
There
I
it
kind of
is.
like to do it because, of course, you want to see where you're at come that 2 o'clock, 2:30 mark. You want to see how the 11 o'clock shaping out so you can see if you're going to be in the hole for the afternoon, or you're going to be digging yourself out, or you're going to be playing with the house's money, you know?
Well, I have a
So-
rule. I have a rule when it comes to houses.
Yeah.
So I want your thoughts on my
Okay.
rule, and I live by this rule. Once it's in my pocket, it's my money, right?
Yeah.
As a gambler, I
Yeah.
got chips in front of me at the poker table. That's mine. I can take it.
Yeah.
I always believe that it's never anybody else's money if it's in front of me. So that's just my thought on that.
Me too. That's
yeah.
the way I
so
look at it.
yeah, once I cash a ticket, that's in my pocket.
Absolutely.
So it's so even if I'm ahead and I take a loss, I don't like it because it was in my pocket.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But you may, you may bet differently if you've,
You're
if
going to
trying
100% bet differently if you're ahead, right?
Yeah, if you're ahead or if you're trying to dig yourself out of that hole, if you've got the shovel digging yourself out of the hole, you might fire at one surefire, I love it, and just bam, dig yourself out of the hole with this one. But, you may look at things differently. That's why I like to start at the 11, go to the afternoon, and then go to the evening, and then we'll have the get it even or get even worse game.
Yeah, I love that. It's get even or get even worse. So
Yeah.
let's make some money today. What do we got?
Minnesota's team total's looking at 30.5. So against a Purdue team that Purdue has given up on the year, looks like 35, 32, and 28 to the Florida Atlantic. But they've had two real games. FAU and Indiana State just don't count as far as looking at this for value in the betting world because it's, two small cupcake teams. But they gave up 35 to Penn State. They gave up 32 to Syracuse. They lost them both. There's no reason Minnesota's not going to get over 30.5 points here. Muhammad Ibrahim, I touched on him earlier this morning. He's a running back that's got over 500 yards rushing already. He's going to be right there at the end for a Big Ten running back of the year. So no reason they shouldn't be over 30.5. It's nice to get that 30.5 because 4 touchdowns and a field goal get us there at 31.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's big. So see if Syracuse and Penn State can get over 30.5, there's no reason that Muhammad Ibrahim shouldn't be able to get over 30.5 as well. So that's my safest play in the Purdue-Minnesota game is that Minnesota team total over 30.5. And, moving on, one thing that caught my eye very early in the week was Michigan and Iowa. So usually you'd look at this and we all, make fun of Iowa for, scoring 7 points against South Dakota State and not scoring a touchdown. They scored a field goal and 2 safeties to get to 7 points, which is pretty remarkable. I don't know if that's ever been done. That's kind of like that. There was an NFL game last week that was the score was 7-5 or 5 to, I think it was 7-5. No game had ever finished 7-5 in the history of the NFL, I think. So that was kind of like South Dakota State, Iowa. So everybody's made fun of Iowa since then. It's the lock under of the year and all of this, but I think them getting 10.5 to 11 points against Michigan, it's moved anywhere from 10.5 to 11. But I think, Iowa getting as many as 11 points at home is a good play here. They've played every game this year, very close, very tight. Iowa's at home. It's a sleepy 11 a.m. kickoff for Michigan. I think they're going to get off to a slow start. So we're going to find out what Michigan's all about. Their first real test of the year, I think. I think Iowa plus 11 would be a solid pick here because Michigan's going to get off to a sleepy start, and Iowa's going to be at home. So we're going to go Iowa plus 11. And Kentucky Ole Miss. I started looking at Ole Miss minus 6.5 at Kentucky, getting 6.5 points. I think Kentucky's a solid team this year. They've already beat Florida pretty handily. I think they got solid veteran quarterback play. So Kentucky getting 6.5. They're going on the road, but I'm still going to ride this Kentucky bandwagon getting 6.5. If you look at Kentucky's schedule, David, listen to this. Ole Miss, they got a test in Ole Miss. They go on the road to Oxford, Mississippi today. After the Ole Miss game, they've got a terrible South Carolina team. Kentucky's going to beat the hell out of South Carolina. But that's next week. But we got Mississippi. Kentucky's got Mississippi State. They've got Missouri. They've got Vanderbilt. They got Tennessee in between there. That's going to be a test. Kentucky's got one test before the Georgia game, and that's Tennessee. That's it. Kentucky, if they beat Tennessee and win today, they could be undefeated November 19th, getting Georgia at home. An undefeated Kentucky team playing a potentially undefeated Georgia team. That might be the biggest game in Kentucky football history if that happens. But we're going to take Kentucky plus 6.5.
At Kentucky.
No, it's at Ole Miss. It's on the road. That's why they're getting the 6.5.
No, I meant it's possible.
The Georgia game. Yes, at Kentucky.
Yeah.
So if they can get past Ole Miss today, I don't really like Ole Miss's quarterback play either. That's why I'm taking the 6.5 with Kentucky. But I like their scheme. I love, their, the coaching offensively. They're going to be up and down the field, but I think they've got an unreliable quarterback to try to run that type of offense, young quarterback. So that's why I'm taking the 6.5. But the Kentucky-Georgia game, if that happens, if Kentucky gets past today, Kentucky gets past Tennessee in a few weeks, then it's going to be undefeated Kentucky against undefeated Georgia because they got Vandy, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and they got Mizzou. So, if they can get past Tennessee, very well could be undefeated Kentucky, undefeated Georgia in Kentucky.
Sounds like fun.
Oh, man. Yeah, that would be an incredible environment.
I want to go to that game.
Yeah, it's not far away.
And there is a reason, ulterior motive, because there's going to be some horse racing somewhere around Kentucky at that point.
Somewhere around Kentucky.
I'll find it. I'll sniff it out.
There's probably a horse racing stall every hour in different counties across the whole state.
Every hour, probably every 5 minutes. I'll sniff them out. We'll get it. We'll get to go to both. Well, that might be a consideration. We'll have to,
5 hours away.
He's already got it out.
Lexington's
We're
5 hours
bringing
away.
the show on the road.
Right? On the road. The winning ticket on the road.
All right. Yesterday on 590 The Fan, every Friday night at 6 to 7 Central, we had Adam Kramer, president of Golden Tee and head senior writer for the Bleacher Report, and he gave out some picks, and you guys agreed on a couple of them, and you guys really liked the same thing. Let's start with the Florida State game. I know I'm stepping out a little bit, but I want to make sure we get this in. He liked Florida State. Your thoughts?
Yeah, hard not to like the Noles in this spot. Jordan Travis is going to be healthy. He took a scare in Louisville. He went down and looked like he might, potentially tear his knee up. But looks like he's going to be okay for quarterback play for Florida State. So Wake Forest, Florida State. Wake took advantage of Clemson having 3 defenders in the backfield, 2 cornerbacks and a safety out last week. So Wake was able to move the ball pretty handily because Clemson was, missing, 3 starters in the backfield on that defense. But I think it's a combination of Florida State being at home, Florida State having more athletes on the defensive side of the ball, and Wake their defense is just pitiful. It almost is as bad as North Carolina, but not that bad. North Carolina's defense is just atrocious. They might be the worst defense in the history of college football. They're so bad. People are putting up – Notre Dame's putting up 40 on them. Notre Dame can't put up 40 against anybody. They put up 40 on North Carolina. That made no sense. So that last week, Notre Dame, North Carolina told me all I need to know about North Carolina. They got a great quarterback in May, but he's got no help. Like Adam said yesterday, maybe they can play the May kid, the quarterback, at safety. Maybe they can do that because he might be the best athlete on the field. But, yeah, North Carolina couldn't stop anybody if you gave them, military-grade equipment. They couldn't stop anybody still. You could arm them with, baseball bats and chainsaws, and they still couldn't stop anybody. So,
all right, what do you got next up?
they're awful. Florida State -6.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with the Noles -6 there. That is a 2:30 start. So that's going to – let's see if that's – yeah, that's going to get us into the 2:30 games, David. I'm glad you brought that up. So another 2:30 Central Time start is Oklahoma State Baylor. Let's go with the over. I love it. Yeah. I love Oak State Baylor.
Adam liked
over
that one
here.
also. Yesterday.
Adam liked that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love the over on Oak State Baylor. Yeah. These two teams played in the Big 12 championship game last year. Although Baylor's got a different quarterback. The quarterback that was in that Baylor-Oak State game, he transferred to South Florida to Tampa. So Bohannon, he's down in South Florida for the old Baylor quarterback. But I love this over here. I don't think these are the same teams as last year. So I'm going to go over 55.5. Another game that I would love to see happen here. We're going to find out a little bit more about my Kansas Jayhawks, my sleeper team.
Yeah.
We're going to find out more about Kansas. So they're at home against Iowa State. Kansas 4-0, Iowa State 3-1. Iowa State beat Iowa in that rivalry game, first time in 6 years that they had beaten Iowa, actually. But they turn around and lose to Baylor last week. This would be 4-0 versus 4-0, but Iowa State loses to Baylor. So Kansas +3. They're getting 3 points at home, which is highly disrespectful. The odds makers are still not buying into my Kansas.
Well, they only had a 2.5 over/under for season wins. I mean, not yet, right? Yeah. They're waiting.
Yeah,
right.
I get it. The season win total was 2.5 on Kansas, but they're 4-0. Yeah. They're in the big time now. Big win last week. They covered against Duke. I had Kansas covering last week. So Kansas +3 here. They got a great quarterback play. They got a dynamic quarterback that reminds me a little bit of kind of like an, step below, but how Lamar Jackson took over the world in 2016 from Louisville. Nobody knew who Lamar Jackson was in start the 2016 year.
Right.
Nobody did. And he took over the world and just kind of shocked everybody. And Kansas quarterback's kind of doing the same thing. So we'll take Kansas +3. Let's keep riding their bandwagon there.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I love it.
Next up.
Let's go stay on the 2:30 slate here. Loving the I'm going to take the points with, like we were saying earlier this morning with Arkansas.
Okay.
It's 17 points. Jefferson's going to make some plays. If Texas's, quarterbacks can make some play against Alabama's defense, there's no reason to think that Jefferson couldn't. Jefferson's back. He's a veteran quarterback, athletic quarterback. He's going to make some plays. They're going to have, the star linebacker for Bama spying him a lot, obviously. But I think Jefferson's going to make some plays. 17 points is just too much at home. So, most of the time these teams cover against Bama on the road like this. You had one last year that was a big line in Mississippi State. Bama went to Mississippi State last year and beat the hell out of Mississippi State and covered a big spread. But that was kind of an outlier. I think most of the time these big spreads cover in situations like this with an athletic quarterback.
So let's talk about Mississippi State. Adam, like them -3.5 today. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Mike Leach is always going to be going to have a good team. Texas A&M, Mississippi State's a 3:00 start time. Mississippi State's laying 4. Texas A&M is Texas A&M is what I thought they were in the App State game in week 2. Awful. Their offense is terrible. They don't know who their quarterback is going to be week to week. They guess it's going to be the transfer from LSU, the Johnson kid, who is actually the Texas A&M quarterback, Brad Johnson. You remember quarterback in the NFL,
course.
Brad
Yeah,
Johnson. That's his son.
He's there forever.
Yeah, he was in the NFL
forever.
Won a Super Bowl with the Bucks.
Yep.
Was a great quarterback for the Bucks that year. Highest rated passer in the NFC. But that Bucks defense was loaded. But their Texas A&M quarterback is Max Johnson. They can't figure it out week to week though. They've been switching it back and forth. So Mississippi State -4. I don't love it, but if I had to pick, I'd lay the 4 points and take the Bulldogs of Mississippi State because they're at home with Mike Leach. With that offense, he's always got some aces up his sleeve. So I'd lay the 4 if I had to pick it, but I don't know. I just think it's going to be an ugly game.
It's okay. We can lay
the
off
total
one.
is
We can lay off
we
one.
got a whole slate of games, but the
we
totals
we can lay off one.
Yeah, we can lay off one of them, I guess. I don't know though. I might get an itch. Come about 2:57. I got 3 minutes to the A&M Mississippi State kickoff. I might have to put that in. Who knows? If I had to, I'd take Mississippi State -4.
I had an idea, and I want to see if we can work it out. We need, with all these kiosks, there's so many kiosks here. I think it's 38 if I had the number right. But I think maybe you need to have one Clemson John with a plaque on it, and with a nice, comfortable chair for you there, just to plant your butt there for the 14 hours that you're going to be here today.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice to have your own kiosk?
Well, I think I did.
Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm a mover and a shaker, David. I like being up in a bunch of different kiosks. So I don't need my own kiosk. I can make do. I move around, shake, talk to the people. That's what's exciting about it.
I would say if you want to see Clemson John in action live, please come down to DraftKings at Casino Queen. It's definitely a sight to see. And you're gonna have a lot of fun, and absolutely come talk to us while you're down here. It's gonna be a great day. It's every Saturday, Sunday football, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what we live for when it's July and August. Couldn't get here fast enough. It's here.
Right around the corner, we got basketball.
We got some
right
college
around
basketball.
the corner. We're a couple weeks.
We're going to
away.
have to bring our friend Greg Peterson, G Unit, back in.
G Unit.
Yeah, he's the college basketball expert. You guys.
Yeah.
We're going to have to
I
bring
would love
him
to
in
have
for
him
basketball.
back. And this is one thing a lot of people may not have seen his segments with us. He bets every side, every total of every game, and he's profitable.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. I've never heard of anybody being able to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get a chance to check him out, he's at GUnit81 on Twitter. He's on so many shows. He is probably the college basketball handicapper in Vegas.
Yeah, and the thing that impresses me about it, he gives an hour broadcast of a 2-minute snippet of every game.
Every game.
It could be like Akron versus Tennessee Tech, and he'll give an analysis of that game. It's like incredible.
It's unbelievable.
Incredible.
The wealth of knowledge that he brings. All right, we got about 5 minutes left today. This has been so much fun. Do you have anything else?
Oh, yeah. Keep looking at
maybe
the 2:30.
one more.
Yeah, you keep looking at the 2:30 slate, though. Let's stay in the afternoon, folks. I think Ohio State's going to just crush Rutgers. This is going to be one of those, Ohio State just 70, the other team 7 or something. They're going to just crush Rutgers. They don't have their star wide receiver, but they're playing it Jackson Smith Enigma in Jigba, however you say his name. But, yeah, they don't have their star wide receiver, but they're just playing it safe. He's got a hamstring tweak. If this was a big game, he could probably play, but they're holding him out, but it's not going to matter. Ohio State -39. This is going to be one of those, 63-0, 70-7 type games. It's going to be ugly in Columbus. So we're going to lay 39 with the Buckeyes. I don't usually lay big numbers like that.
That's a big number.
But it's Ohio State, Rutgers. Rutgers is, 3-1 on the year, but their wins have come against Wagner. They had a juggernaut of a game against Temple. Are you ready? 16-14 against Temple. So if they can't score more than 16 points against Temple, then they're definitely not scoring more than 16 against the Buckeyes in Columbus. No shot.
All right, John. Hey, We got about 3.5 minutes left on today's show. I want to give you this opportunity. You are geared out,
Yeah.
right? Real
Yeah.
quick, how many Clemson shirts or sweatshirts do you own? Or do you
I don't-
wear anything else?
David, you keep them. Pete could have touched on this earlier, but
Yeah.
his time at Auburn.
Yeah. No, that was Micah.
That Micah, I'm sorry, Pete's
Yeah.
friend Micah. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, but yeah, Micah could have touched on this earlier. His time at Auburn would have brought this out in him. You don't throw your gear away, man. You got one for you got one for every game. You ordered this as the score shirt. So this is, I've got tombstone shirts of when we went on the road and we beat ranked teams on the road. We put a tombstone up as their grave. So I've got shirts for that. Score shirts, you got a shirt for every big win every week. You don't throw them away, David. So I've just collected massive amounts of Clemson memorabilia and shirts over the past, I'm 37 years old. So I guess you got to go back to the mid-90s maybe.
Wow.
We weren't very good in the mid-90s, but I was still following it hardcore. They used to give tickets away.
You have a whole closet.
Yeah.
Just for your Clemson gear.
You'd have to put an S on the end of the word closet. Closets. But I let the wifey know when we got together that's just comes with the package,
All right, how much gear does she have?
She's gotten on the bandwagon, David. Yeah. 7 years. So she's collected some in 7 years. But the mass of it stays with me. It's way over 350.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Some of them are tucked away in boxes. I'm not, 190 pounds anymore. So I can't wear them, but I'll be damned if I'm throwing them away, David.
You're not making the 155.
No,
weight.
I'm not.
He's not on the MMA card tonight.
I'm not making weight tonight.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You're plus like 8,000.
Oh God.
To make weight.
They won't even give it. Nobody will even give it a line to make weight.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I was being generous.
Yeah. Yeah. No. But I'm not 190 anymore, so those shirts stay in the closet, But you don't throw them away. Those are keepsakes, man. You go through the closet. Oh, 2009. I remember this game, All
right, we got to wrap things up, but hey, we are on every Friday night, 590 The Fan from 6 to 7 after Bernie Miklasz. You catch us there for just an hour on Friday night, and it gives a little prelude to our Saturday show here at DraftKings at Casino Queen every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 Central Time. Also, if you want to send us a message, anything you'd like to hear us talk about, any interest you have at all, you can reach us at on air at thewinningticket21.com. I want to thank our guests that came on today, Peter Jakes, Micah Mills, Clemson. Thanks for joining me and hosting the show with me today. And of course, none of this happens without our producer, Russell Sides. I can't wait to be here next week. If you want to come down and see us today, come on down, say hi. Until next week, thanks for watching.
Yeah, and if you guys want to see the best